Top 5 storylines of the year.
This was not an easy one.
No, well, yeah, I think we both know who we probably think is going to be the winner, but it's interesting because I was just saying, like, for me and you personally, I don't think of, like, I like storylines. Obviously, wrestling's all about story, but I don't really think about storylines in a moment. I think about, like, the feuds, like,
And the culmination and
yeah.
storyline and feud to me is the same thing.
Storyline and feud is kind of the same thing, right? So I guess I just don't think about it in terms of like storyline.
But when you're in the moment, you don't think about the fact that there's literally people in the back that are drawing up these storyboards and are coming up with these storylines ahead of time.
Sure. And I mean, the wrestlers obviously, at least definitely in other places, probably pitch in for the most part and stuff.
Yeah, as long as you're not the WWE, you definitely get to pitch in.
For the most part, yeah. I was going to say. I mean, I bet you Roman probably has some say.
Yeah, no. If once you get to, we both know that once you get to a certain level, you get to pitch in. Yeah, but there are certain levels where you just want to keep your mouth shut and do what they tell you to.
I'm gonna read my list to start off.
Sure.
I got Hangman chasing after the belt.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just gonna start off with it.
Way to bring the big one out first.
I got Punk returns.
Yeah.
And I figured, and it was kind of a storyline because I couldn't call it just a return. But they hinted at it. We had Darby come out. I want to wrestle the best in the world.
If that's a storyline, that might actually deserve to be the winner.
Yeah. We can argue that. Omega belt collector. Somebody had this too, and I stole this one, but I kind of like it. I mean, because I never, like, anyone going around and chasing belts in different companies was always kind of a dream.
Sure.
And this one, I'll just tell you right now, I'm going to read this list coming up, but Jesse from New Hampshire, I stole this from you. Cardona Deathmatch King. And I thought to myself, the guy did a really good job of not only reinventing himself, but getting GCW hot in the process.
If I had told you 3 years ago, Zack Ryder is going to become the Deathmatch King, you would have thought I was absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah, it makes no sense. Actually, it's funny because I just watched Impact last night, and they had a main event match. It was him and William Morrissey, formerly Big Cass, and it was like a DQ finish. But in the end,
and now he sounds like he's the head of like a modeling agency. Yeah, welcome to the William Morrissey Agency.
Or a cigarette company, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
But, like he ends up, Morrissey and Moose end up fighting, and then he ends up, after Moose is out, he knocks Morrissey out in the ring. And the closing segment is Matt Cardona with the Impact holding up hands. Now, I don't know. I don't think Matt's going to win it. I think they're setting up Josh Alexander.
Well, that's not the only person that he actually attacked with a belt this week.
That's what I was going to say. So take that.
Talk about a belt collector.
And then earlier, this week, as we were recording this, he interfered at NWA Hard Times, and he ended up picking up that belt too. He didn't win it, but he literally picked it up.
But he literally could be in line to go after the Impact, NWA, GCW, have all three of those belts.
It would be, if he did that, that would be an amazing 20.
The belt collector. Screw you, Kenny Omega.
But nonetheless, good job.
And he's got Chelsea Green.
Actually, I saw something. Oh, man. Miz challenged Edge at day one. And Cardona was on social media, and he said, so I guess Miz is going to skip my marriage or my ceremony or wedding. Yeah, because it must be on the same day he's getting married. And he's like, I got plans, son.
In fairness to Miz, I don't think he booked himself into the match.
Probably not. And I thought this one from Jesse, too, although I probably actually would have put this one myself. The whole bloodline thing. With Roman, Uso, Paul, it's probably the best thing going in WWE right now.
It's a good storyline.
Yeah, right. Well, again, probably the best thing going in WWE right now. There are other stuff too, but I mean,
I like Roman. The storyline's been a little inconsistent with the way the cousins didn't argue, who's to blame for what, who's doing what. The bloodline itself storyline is a little.
I know what you mean. Like there are points where Roman's beating him up, and like where we're going with this, but then we don't go anywhere with this. They're all falling in line. But I guess that's the storyline.
I guess that's the storyline.
You have a problem with that when other
to me, it's a better storyline of what the hell is Paul Heyman's relationship still with Brock? How does that actually play out? What is going on here? He stabbed Brock Lesnar in the back. That doesn't seem like a smart thing to do.
Let's go out of order then. Let's go with your top five next too.
So for my top five, my number one was Dragunov versus Walter. Dragunov actually fighting for the belt. Really, to me, it was very similar to what they did in AEW with Hangman Page and Omega. You had Walter, who was the champion for 500 and something days, and then he's being chased by the undersized underdog, Ilya Dragunov, and Dragunov ends up pulling it off. To me, that's one of the storylines of the year. I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the payoff on it, so that was fantastic. Another great storyline from me from NXT was actually Cameron Grimes and LA Knight.
Oh, sure.
I enjoyed that, bringing in Ted DiBiase, the money, the aspects of it. I thought it was well done, well played out. That was very good. I'm actually going to go back to NXT for another storyline. I think the storyline that they've done off and on for the last year between Raquel Gonzalez and her former partner Dakota Kai, and them being a team and then not being a team, the split up, the storyline, I thought it was all well done. I think that Dakota Kai has done a great job of transforming herself through that storyline. I am going to go to AEW. You got to have Hangman Page on there, obviously, chasing Kenny Omega, overcoming his own personal demons. It's a great storyline, very well done. And then, believe it or not, one of my most recent ones is also going to be from AEW, and I think that this was very well done. Chris Jericho and his group versus America's Top Team. I've enjoyed that storyline. I like the way that it was done, how they spread it out over a little bit of time, and how everything came together. So those are my 5.
It's interesting that you picked.
I think I went with some more obscure ones than some people are going to go with.
You went with Dragunov and Walter.
I love that storyline.
I just watched the latest episode of NXT UK today, and that episode was where Mustache Mountain won the tag belts.
Yeah.
You had actually texted me.
I know. I sent you a text.
Yeah, that's all right because it actually made me want to see it. Like I might NXT UK, I like, but I watch it whenever. And the reason why I brought it up is because.
But I didn't spoil my favorite thing from that show, and you're probably about to talk about it.
Maybe because you talked about Dragunov, and now we're setting up a storyline with him versus the Irish ace Jordan Devlin. And
I love both these guys.
I love both these guys too, and Devlin is so fantastic.
He almost made my list. That storyline that he had last year with having to overcome losing his cruiserweight title and then having to try to come back and fight for it and then to end up losing it again. That was a storyline I considered just because of how much I like Jordan Devlin.
This is, by the way, sidebar. This is a great show, NXT UK.
Oh, absolutely.
It reminded me of just the old NXT when it was an hour on the network. That little story they showed, I think her name is Armel. It was like the French angel. And it's about hope. And they give this whole background how she didn't make it in the WWE before. And she got cut in a tryout in Germany. She kept trying. We got actual tears in her eyes. Yeah. And we're watching this. And they're also, like I said, we're set up the Jordan Devlin Dragunov match. We had Mustache Mountain win the tag titles, which Tyler Bate is now the triple crown of that. Like he's had the Heritage Cup. He's had the world title.
Not only that, but if you haven't checked out a lot of NXT UK, go back and look at what Kaylee Ray did before coming to regular NXT. She was another one who was a champion for over 500 days over there as the women's champion. The matches that she has with Ginny and with Piper and frickin', it's just absolutely fantastic matches. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't call her Piper Niven.
Dewdrop?
Dewdrop, sorry. But for those of us that watched NXT UK, Piper Niven was fantastic talent over there, and checking it out.
Yeah, really good show. It was interesting to me because like Tyler Bate and Trent Seven were actually they were NXT tag champions, but that was the first time they actually won the NXT UK belts. They actually made you wait this whole time, which I don't know, it made it really seem more important. There's a storyline cooking here too with Trent Seven, where he obviously had self-doubt going in, he won the belt, and I still feel like they're actually setting seeds for eventually Trent Seven is going to retire, I think, and have a fight.
I think he's going to retire, and I think when he retires, it'll give Tyler Bate has been so over as a babyface. Imagine if he turns heel on Trent Seven actually on his retirement. What that would do for Tyler Bates as a heel.
Tyler Bate, I want to ask you, he's such a great talent. Will he ever get the push in the States if he came over in mainstream?
Unfortunately, I think he would get screwed over just like Pete Dunne's been screwed over. Pete Dunne is a main event talent and could be a main event talent at any time. And on the WWE level, on SmackDown, Raw, wherever you want to put him, he's another one who I hope that at some point his contract runs out, so maybe he'll get a shot somewhere. But I think that unfortunately Tyler Bates would get the same treatment. He might have a little better of a chance just because he's got kind of a power lifter's physique at his size. So maybe he would get a little bit more of a chance.
If somebody showed Vince him actually lifting up Walter with like the one hand, I think, Vince would probably really love this kid. But
The problem is there's only so much room for little guys with power on the roster, and we've already got one who's an Olympic gold medalist there, so
yeah,
it might be hard to.
they don't even seem to give a shit about Chad Gable.
Yeah,
So,
I don't even think Vince knows Chad's still on the roster, or he might get cut.
I got Jesse from New Hampshire's list. Let's get back on track here. He's got Cardona, Deathmatch King. Again,
That's a good one.
he had the Reigns bloodline. I also stole that. But he also has CM Punk's return. We had that same, but that was actually not on purpose. Punk versus MJF, which is great.
It's just such a new storyline. I didn't want to
it
include
is.
it in there. It is a good
Yeah.
storyline. It is in this year, but I
Yeah.
think that it's going to carry more into next year.
And then he's got Danielson's American Dragon return. Also very good, too.
I like that. It's just, to me, if you're going to go with a storyline with Danielson, the way he's working his way and beating the shit out of the Dark Order and the way he's turned heel, to me, is a bit better storyline than his entrance.
Yeah, I really do enjoy his heel turn right now. Everything he's doing.
I love his heel turn. The only thing that I regret is he hasn't had a chance to stomp a hole in Anna Jay. She seems to really want to get in there and actually mix it up. Tell me that would not take him over the top as a heel.
It's funny I said I wouldn't be mad. Like, I'm agreeing with you. That's not what I'm about to say. I'm no selling you. But I wouldn't be mad if Danielson won the world title.
He will eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even now, like, it wouldn't bother me. It's like, I like Hank, but I don't know.
Yeah, but how many storylines does Hangman have?
I don't, you know what? I hope
currently, how many storylines does Hangman have?
Right, I don't know.
Now, here's the big money draw, and here's something that could happen. CM Punk has said now that he's interested in going after the title. Danielson beats Cowboy by cheating. Obviously, the whole crowd's going to be even more pissed off at him because everybody wants Cowboy to be the champion. So he gets beat, and now you've got CM Punk overcome MJF, and it's freaking CM Punk versus
Hangman.
Danielson. But not only that, and now you've got babyface CM Punk versus heel Bryan Danielson in a mic war. That's absolutely insane. I've got Mrs. St. John's baby boy, and he's got Hangman finally beating Omega. He's got Omega the belt collector. Edge versus Rollins, which is one that almost made my list, but I got tired of the feud, to be honest with you, and that's why I didn't make my list. MJF and Jericho, Labor of Jericho. I thought that was well done. That's a good one. Big E winning with the Money in the Bank, winning it, and then ended up cashing it in. Another good storyline. A lot of those came close to my list, but just didn't make it.
Randy Osgood's list. Randy and friend, actually. I'll give you both this list. Randy brought a friend. Randy's got Anthony Laterra. I'll start off with Anthony Laterra too. He's got CM Punk coming back to Chicago. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. So it's very specific on that one. MJF and CM Punk. Adam Cole's debut in AEW. This one is more of just a match to me. Bryan Danielson versus Omega, but I mean, there was a little bit there. Then I'll go to Randy's. Randy's got the Forbidden Door, which isn't a bad one. And then think about that, Ring of Honor Wrestling going out of business. CM Punk making his return after 7 years. WWE recently releasing so many wrestlers this year. And Matt Cardona with GCW, which I would think will qualify under the Deathmatch King.
Speaking of returns this week, AEW and the return of Trent to the Best Friends this week, and how awesome was that, and how great did he look?
He looked great. I didn't even say this, but he reminded me a little bit of Moxley with the look there.
He did. He's trimmed down a little bit. I think the back surgery that he had ended up causing him to trim down quite a bit, and obviously cut his hair, and I thought he looked phenomenal.
I'll tell you a story, though, you might not have picked up on. I watched an interview they had the Best Friends do with Barstool Sports, and it was the day of the show in New York, and it had Trent, Chuck, and Orange Cassidy. And Trent had long hair. This was the day of. He had long hair, and he was talking about, I'm not sure when I'm coming back because of my neck and everything and that. And he came back that night. So when I watched that, and I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch. Like, good for you.
Well, he came back that night and got a haircut.
You did? Oh, yeah. So I was
Dude, good job playing the world. Jesus.
Yeah. Now, I had said, when Randy said Ring of Honor Wrestling going out of business, that's a shoot. Also, WWE releasing so many wrestlers of the year, that's also a shoot. Yeah. Why don't you go to Jake's list right now? Because
there's a shoot on there.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for this one. Here's the shoot for you. Kenny Omega, the belt collector, is one of his. He's got the return of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, or whatever you want to call him, and the ensuing heads getting fucking kicked in. CM Punk's return, Hangman Page working towards the AEW title, and here's the shoot, brother. Vince McMahon being completely out of touch with reality and continuing to ruin great talent.
Yeah, I mean,
that might be be the storyline of the year.
It is interesting, right?
I'm sad. I'm sad I didn't put that on my list. Matter of fact, for that one, Jake, you are now Mrs. St. John's favorite baby boy. Congratulations, you've overcome.
I have one more list to get to, so I'm going to read this, and then we'll start talking.
If this person's got a better one, I'm not making them over Jake for Mrs. St. John's favorite baby boy.
But it's Mike Flynn, who
well, he is part of their family.
Dude, he was running around in Cali all day, and he had somebody who's a runner of his. He coaches, I guess, in San Diego. So he was in California all day, and he hit us with a list still. And I got this list.
Wow, way to tell everybody where Mike is. What if they were looking for him? What if he was in witness protection, and now you've given it up?
He's recording. He'll be back to somewhere else. So.
Oh, thank God. Woo.
He's got the Hangman Page storyline, the Bloodline storyline, Inner Circle versus Pinnacle. Not a lot loved it, but he said not a lot, but Edge and Orton. He enjoyed the Edge Orton storyline, and Walter Dragunov, much like you, he had that in there as well.
Now although he liked the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle better than versus America's Top Team. I actually enjoyed the America's Top Team better. I thought the Pinnacle one dragged down a little bit.
Dan Lambert really made that whole.
I thought Dan Lambert made it, and when they told me Dan's going to be back in a couple weeks this week, I was like, hell yeah, Dan's going to be back in a couple weeks.
Like he's just somebody who just loves wrestling. He plays this heel. He knows how to make an ass out of himself when he has to. He's a combination of like Bobby Heenan and maybe like not saying he's on that level, but like he'll cut with you like serious shoot, almost like cut you down, but then he'll also make an ass out of himself too. It's like
absolutely, it's fantastic. I also enjoyed that the two of them actually pointed out, they're like, oh, of course Cody Rhodes is going to get the shot for the TNT title. Why would we get it?
Right? Yeah. I mean, there's some. So I think, without really even doing a tally this week, I think we know. I think the top three to me is going to be Hangman Page is going to be in there. I think CM Punk returning to Chicago made a few lists here, and then you'll see. Maybe you'll disagree. And the other one I thought was Omega Belt Collector.
So I actually think that, believe it or not, Matt Cardona and the GCW title made more lists than CM Punk did. I could be wrong, but I think he actually did the job here to Matt Cardona.
Yeah, I definitely didn't do the job, the Cardona.
No, GCW and that Deathmatch Championship, that made a lot of lists.
Okay, so you want to put that on there. You want to keep Kenny as the belt collector?
Yeah, I think that
one.
If you're going to do that, you could do Punk instead of the belt collector. But I thought the top three were actually the two Kenny Omegas, with one with Hangman Page and then GCW.
So Kenny as the belt collector and his feud with Hangman, and then
GCW, Death Championship. I thought the death match had more than the belt collector did, to be honest with you. I could be wrong when we count it up, but
I mean, let's talk about. We're not going to count it up. We're just going to. We're not doing that.
I can tell you that even though it didn't get as many votes, Vince McMahon being completely out of touch with reality and continuing to ruin great talent might be the storyline of the year.
So I'll tell you what. Just on that, Cardona, I'll even put him over the belt collector. We'll put him at number 2. I can't wait till we talk about him at some point, a little in depth. However, to me, the Hangman Page storyline, it's not only this a storyline this year. This thing has been going on since the inception of AEW. This whole battle with his self-esteem. And it's such a tricky thing to kind of maneuver, because if you don't do this right, he can look like he's a wimp and nobody's going to like him. But he did it in a way where he walked that line where he was still winning matches, but he would lose the big one. But he was so close.
Yeah, if you did it wrong, it just ends up looking like Brian Myers.
Although I don't know if we're going to be doing anything on Brian Myers, but maybe we will. We are going to pick Hangman Page as the.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hangman Page, they played it out all year, maybe a little bit into last year, quite frankly. And they made us feel horrible for this guy. Everything he had to overcome, everything that he had to fight, all the obstacles. He went and had a baby. That's not easy to become a champion after having a baby. He got his figure back right away, though, so he looks good. It was a great storyline. It played out for a year, and it deserves to be storyline of the year.
Yeah. Actually, kind of thought about Becky Lynch. That's pretty impressive. It's like with the shape she's in.
Oh, you kidding me? She looks fantastic. Almost like her husband, boyfriend, whatever he is now, Seth Rollins, runs a CrossFit gym.
Yeah, apparently they work out together. But on that note, Hangman Page, storyline of the year, folks. Thanks for stopping in.